Today I'm going to be sharing a story with you guys. And I meant to share this story a long time ago, but it's all starting to bubble up to the surface now, and I feel like it's sort of a precursor to my story. So it's completely relevant, and it shows as sort of a warning of being in or staying in abusive or narcissistic relationships. And I'm driving, so if you hear bumping or it gets loud, I apologize. But so it's just been impressed on my heart like the last few days, so heavy to just get on the phone and share it. And so here I am. But this is a story about a family member of mine, and it was my uncle. When my uncle was younger, I mean, he was charming and funny and witty and fun, had a lot of energy. He graduated valedictorian of his class, incredibly smart, he was talented, and he started getting in trouble in Florida. And so my grandma said he was hanging out with the wrong crowd, getting into drugs. He was just trouble at this point. So my grandma sent him to Michigan, where my mother lived, and he came to stay with us. So I was probably about 14 at the time, and so he was with us. Well, at the time I was young. I was also hanging out with cousins and whatnot, and so I was over at my cousin's house, who her family was staying with her aunt. And the aunt had another roommate, someone else who was staying with them, and I'm going to call her Sarah. Sarah was, upon meeting her, like, you know when you meet a person and you can just feel their goodness? It's like you can pick up on it. They say like through an aura or just their energy. Like you could just feel her genuine heart, her genuine nature. She was a phenomenal person, but she was in an abusive relationship with a man who was very like toxic, narcissistic, loud, in your face, domineering. He was physically abusive towards her. And so she had finally gotten away from him and was sort of on the mend from this terrible relationship. Well, long story short, one way or another, she was introduced to my uncle. They hit it off, like seemingly beautiful relationship. It was incredible, to say the least, like how much they just paired together, and they were silly. They were so in love. Like seemed like from the outside looking in, everyone was like, wow, they belong together. That's like a match made in heaven. And Sarah was incredibly, like, she, after dealing with the last guy, she found my uncle to be completely refreshing. And he didn't put his hands on her, but he tended to domineer the dynamic a little. But she was so head over heels for him. Like, it didn't matter what he did. She was just like, oh my gosh, he's incredible. She was so open towards him. Like, you know, when you have a pure heart and you love with every fiber of your being, there's no holding back. And so she just sort of jumped in head first. He could do no wrong. A couple years in, I believe, they were getting married. He proposed. She said yes. After they got married, he proposed to her that they should move to Florida, where his parents lived, because his parents, my grandparents, were going to buy them a house across the street. To Sarah, this sounded wonderful. Oh my gosh, I get to go live in South Florida. Like, this is going to be great. We're a family. So she agreed and uprooted herself and moved across the country, where she had no friends, no family, no support. And the only people she knew was my uncle and then my grandparents. Well, it didn't take long before they had become hypercritical of her. She had 3 of his children, all girls, and he was a mama's boy. His parents, my grandparents, were wealthy, well off. quick to hand him whatever he needed. So he never really had to like apply himself. He always got his way. Like he got money, he got support, he got whatever. And he would badmouth Sarah to his parents. And so they would often criticize her or disagree with her or paint her in a bad light. But really, he had gone back to hanging out with his old friends, getting into trouble, lots of drug use, partying, was not being a good husband, was mistreating her. He had successfully isolated her from all of her support, so she really had no one. And she was struggling with being, you know, a mom, kind of on her own, dealing with all of this. It felt like attacks were coming in from every side. I'm sure this was an incredibly hard thing to go through for her. But no matter what he did, it's like he could still do no wrong. She just loved him so much. So she was fighting for him. She was fighting for him to get clean, to get away from the drugs, to, you know, step away from all of the trouble, and that she just wanted to be a happy family. And he had other plans. Like he didn't really care. I don't know. As much as from the outside they seemed like this perfect couple, what was really sort of going on the inside was a lot of manipulation, a lot of gaslighting, a lot of neglect, a lot of emotional abuse, a lot of just confusion that she was put in all the time. And she was like constantly fighting for this relationship. And she was years in diagnosed with a aggressive form of breast cancer. Lost all of her hair, went through chemo. She was still struggling in this marriage. It wasn't panning out. She finally, when she went into remission, she finally talked him into going to rehab. So he agreed. He went, and about a month in, he came home to like visit her. It was like an inpatient sort of thing. He came home to visit her, and she noticed that somebody was outside in his truck. She's like, "Who is this person?" And he explains, "Oh, well, I met someone, essentially like, you're going to have to take the girls and move out, and we're done. Like, I have someone new." It was so sudden, and so like, it like uprooted every part of her. Like, she was so traumatized by this. She was so heartbroken. And she was trying to push through. Like, started working. She got out. He gave her 1 month, like, to get her stuff and get out. And this was right before the holidays. She was a mess. She had just fallen apart. She was devastated by this. And she got into her apartment. Right after the holidays, her girls came down with like a virus, and then she fell ill. And it just wasn't clearing. It wasn't going away. So she went to the emergency room, and they told her, "Your cancer has come back, and now it's in your esophagus. And we can't do surgery. There's nothing we can do. Like, you're going to die." This news was even more devastating. And so she was now fighting for her life and her girls through the pain and the devastation. This story really upsets me because it hits close to home. It's not just a fluke story. This is going on all over the place. And this is the thing. Like, so she fell ill. She was trying to fight, but essentially she was like waiting to die. It just kept progressing and getting worse because she was just in so much pain and trauma, and she couldn't believe like what had happened. Like, she was just, the rug was pulled out from under her completely, and she didn't know how to cope. She didn't know how to heal. She had no support. Nobody was there with her. She was alone, and she just kept progressing and getting sicker and sicker very quickly. My uncle had moved this young woman, she was like half his age, into their house, and was essentially just waiting for his wife to die. And they even had the nerve, when my Aunt Sarah was getting close, she knew she was getting close, she asked them to come visit her so that she could give him the last wishes. Like, she was so forgiving. She never blamed him. She never blamed him. And she asked everyone else that they don't blame him, that they forgive him. She still swore she just loved him. And like, she had such a pure heart. And when they went to go see her in the hospital to hear her last wishes, they literally were like, can you just die already? Now, this goes to show his heart, his feelings towards her. He never loved her. He just loved what she did for him. And he was so quick to just throw it in the trash and move on. Like, he never cared for her. So he was narcissistic. And here she was, probably hanging on to all of these lies, all of this future faking, all of this stuff that he was painting for her. And because she genuinely loved him, she believed in him. And she stayed. And she had faith that he would come around, that things would get better, and it never did. And it costed her her life. She left behind 3 beautiful girls who now had to be raised with narcissistic dad and the new girl who was incredibly hateful and cruel. And, you know, they went back to their addictions. They just mooched off of, you know, the grandparents, the mom and dad. The story is horrendous. And when this happened, I was in my mid-20s. This was a long time ago. And I could just feel like the rage inside of me. I knew it was him. Whereas everyone else looked at the scenario and they were just like, oh, how unfortunate. Like, that sucks that she got cancer and died. But like, nobody correlated that he played a role in that. That's what happens when you stay. When you stay in heartbreak, when you stay in just despair, when your sense of self is decimated, when you are just filled with grief and agony and pain because of the situation, because you're constantly being hurt and destroyed from the inside out. So no, he never laid a finger on her, but he murdered her through his cruelty, through his neglect, through his lack of love for her. And this story hit home. It hit my heart so hard. And I know what she said, don't blame him. But she knew the truth too. Yes, she stayed. She should have left. She should have gotten away. But it's not so simple. When somebody is pretending to love you, when they do things that show they care, and so you believe it because you want to see the best in a person. And the entire time it's fake. It's false. This is the undeniable truth of what happens. And it's not just an isolated story. The same exact thing happened to my neighbors. And his wife ended up passing. And I heard him yelling and screaming at her and calling her names. And she wound up sick. She was like the nicest lady ever. And eventually she passed. And it's disgusting. For any of you who find yourself to be in a situation where you are being mistreated and you're thinking to yourself, I can handle it, it's not that bad, or they're going to change, or things are going to get better, I urge you to replay this video again to understand what I am telling you. Because this is not an isolated incident. This is the truth. This is reality. You are playing with your life by staying with somebody who mistreats you. You are playing with your life. You are gambling with your life by thinking it'll never be you. Because one day your mental health is going to go and your physical body is going to start to slip and it's going to be too late. I am urging you to just heed, proceed with caution, because God did not let this story leave me for a reason. It led me to my testimony, and I have a very similar story, but the things that I can tell you firsthand exactly what it's like. And it's been in my spirit so heavy for 3 days. So much so that I'm literally like dreaming, like, okay, get it out. Like, there are lives attached to this information. There are. You can literally save your own life by walking away and healing from the damage that's been done. We often don't correlate abuse or words or, emotional things with disease and sickness, but they are 100% tied together. They have found that autoimmune disease, cancer, all of these things are triggered by trauma. And you can't pretend that you're not being traumatized when you're being mistreated by somebody who's pretending to love you, but their actions are showing you otherwise. So I had to share this with you guys today, and this was my first experience of sort of putting the pieces together before anyone else had figured it out. This was decades ago, 15 years ago. And when I made a video the other day about being the curse breaker in your family, and that's me, and how people don't like that. And so I would speak out. I had family members who were oh, don't blame him, oh, poor uncle, he lost his wife and now he's got these kids, and so many people had compassion for him through this process. And for me, it was I was disgusted, and I spoke out against it, and I was are you kidding me? You guys are openly supporting him after what they said to her and how they treated, it made me sick. And my family attacked me for it. My grandmother literally blocked me on Facebook. She wouldn't speak to me because, nobody can say anything about her baby boy. And isn't it funny how family crowds together and refuses to see the truth? So they enable narcissistic people, and they give them an attaboy, and they it's they protect them to some degree. My mother was furious at me for even suggesting that he played any sort of role in her demise. And it gets, she gave up and she had cancer, and it was just extremely aggressive, and she didn't fight it, and she could have done, pinning the blame on her essentially. But it's people are blind to the connection, to the correlation between abuse and sickness. And doctors, neuroscientists, people are now putting the pieces together. They are now proving that our body keeps the score, that, mentally we might think we're okay, but our body is keeping score of every single heartbreak, every single loss, every single repressed emotion. All the emotions we stuff down, the anger and the rage at being mistreated, and yet we don't express it. We keep the peace. We try to hold everything together. And doing this literally destroys our physical vessel. It destroys us at a soul level. So I'm sharing the story as a warning. And I'm sure in hearing the story, you can probably look around in your own experience and find 5 more like it. But get out. If you are in that situation, get out. I know it's hard. I know it feels impossible, and I know your self-worth has been beaten down so low that you feel that you just can't leave. But I'm telling you, leave. Leave. And if you know somebody who is in a toxic relationship, please send this video to them so that they can understand what they are up against, because it's not a game. You are gambling with your life. And if you have children and you want to be around to care for your children, get out. It might be hard for a little while, but things will get better. Get out. Do not play with your own life. I love you. God bless you.